Todd Talks.
If you're somebody that struggles to make decisions, afraid to create a boundary and reinforce your boundaries, it's completely normal. And it's particularly difficult for a lot of different people. Some people are really good about making boundaries, and some people are not very good at making boundaries. So if you're experiencing doubt, second guessing, so let's say, for example, you make a decision to break loose from anything, from a friendship, from a relationship, from a business associate, from a team, whatever it is, and you want to establish a boundary. And that's really hard sometimes, right? But if you struggle with that and you have second guesses, um, it's completely normal. Completely normal to feel that way. And it doesn't mean you made the wrong decision. So if you're listening to this and you need help with making sure you made the right decision, I think you've come to the right place. So I want to cover some of that with you. So let's slow this down a little bit for you and get you grounded again. First of all, what you're experiencing when you're having this second thought, or having some doubt, is actually, it has a name. It's actually called post-boundary doubt, right? Because you have a boundary. It's post, after the boundary. You set the boundary. It's post-boundary doubt. And it almost always shows up after you do something clean, calm, and self-respecting, doesn't it? Especially if you're someone who values harmony in long relationships. That's how I am. I truly value all of that stuff, harmony and long relationships. So that's always going to show up post-boundary doubt, right? So this is your nervous system. This is very important to understand, is that your nervous system is asking, did I just risk connection? Oh my gosh, am I, panicking here or what? Because, we want to be connected. It's a neurological thing. It's something that's part of humanity. It's part of all of us. It's part of humankind. It's part of the animal kingdom too, by the way, but it's wired in us. And that's our nervous system, because everything we do, every single thing we do, whether we taste it, touch it, smell it, see it, hear it, whatever, it's the nervous system that experiences it, and it processes it in our pesky little mind, the mystery of the mind, right? So that's our nervous system asking, did I just risk connection? Oh my gosh. And that's not wisdom questioning you. This is important. This is not wisdom that's questioning you. That's old conditioning. Let's bold that, old conditioning. Reacting to a new behavior, right? And again, I've struggled with this quite a bit over the years. I don't like disappointing people. I don't like making people angry or hating me or not liking each other. I don't like that stuff, right? So I understand that. And again, let's repeat. Your nervous system's asking, did I just risk connection? It's not wisdom questioning you, okay? So if you're having second guesses and you're doubting your decision, this isn't wisdom. That's old conditioning. That's habits of the past. Your nervous system did it over and over and over and over and over again. It's on repeat. And that's old conditioning reacting to a new behavior, right? This is a complete new behavior of yours, trying to be more assertive, more having your boundaries, standing behind your boundaries. That's really what it comes down to. This is new. It's a new behavior. Okay. Now, what's next? Second, notice the timing when this stuff happens. This is very, very important. So whenever you make a critical decision, again, let's say you want to break up with a boyfriend or break up with a girlfriend or leave a job or stop talking to certain family members or not participate in certain group settings anymore, not sign certain contracts anymore. I mean, whatever it is that's bothering you, that you feel your gut is telling you is wrong, and you finally get the courage up to make the break or make the change, which can be very difficult, but man, does that build character and build strength if you can do that, right? But whenever you have doubt and second guesses, and again, I'll go back to the beginning where it's inevitable. This post-boundary doubt thing is inevitable after you do something clean, calm, and self-respecting, because again, you are conditioned to do it that way. So your nervous system isn't like that. So notice the timing though. This is really important. And you feel really good about it at first, right? you know that feeling though. So let's say it's a breakup or you leave a job and you feel really good, like, wow, man, I feel great about this. And then a few days pass and now doubt creeps back in. And that timing tells us a lot, right? If you'd made a mistake, you would have felt uneasy immediately, right? Like, oh my gosh, what did I just do? Oh, I feel terrible, and you would have apologized. But if instead you feel relief first, that tells you something. There's something in your psyche, in your nervous system that makes you feel okay with that. That's important to understand that. I want you to absorb that because I've had to absorb that over the years too. I still have to practice this to this day. Is that when you do something, if you feel good about it afterwards, if there's any bit of feeling good about it afterwards, that's your nervous system. There's something deep inside your spirit that makes you say, "Hey, this was okay," right? Remember, now again, I'll repeat, if you made a mistake, you would have felt uneasy immediately, right? So you often feel relief first, okay? Now, if your answer might be, "Hey, I did something and I felt immediately terrible about it, and I've been feeling terrible about it the whole time," then that's a whole different conversation. I'd still encourage you to think about that and think about why you feel the way you do, because sometimes people feel bad, and I've been in this position myself before. I get it. But some people feel bad. It's just their nature to always feel bad about something. But generally speaking, you're going to feel pretty good about making decisions that protect your boundaries and really enforce your values, your morals, and your ethics. Okay? So let's talk a little bit more about that. Doubt that shows up later usually means the emotional noise is quieted, right? Because whenever you're heated and you're really in the grips of something, that's emotional noise. It's really high caliber. You're really amped up, right? So that means that, again, when this doubt shows up later, all that noise, all that emotional noise is quieted down. And, your mind is trying to reassert familiarity, right? So remember your nervous system. So let's say, for example, you're with a group of people or are part of a team for 5, 6, 7 or more years, right? Man, it's a lot of memories, a lot of time, a lot of familiarity. It's comfort. We're creatures of comfort. We want to feel familiar, right? And that doubt shows up because your mind, the deep recesses of your mind and your neurological connections are trying to assert or reassert familiarity, saying, remember this, remember this, remember this, remember this. But it's not, it doesn't mean that the decision was wrong, okay? So it's like this. Relief first, doubt later equals right decision, unfamiliar territory. Let me repeat that equation, and I want you to absorb this. Relief first means you made a decision and you feel good about it. That's the relief. Doubt later equals right decision, unfamiliar territory. That's all. So it's not, remember, it's not your wisdom or your intellect. Okay, you made the right decision. It's just unfamiliar territory, and that can be very scary. Okay. And there's other things I want you to think about too. So there's a question here that might help cut through the fogginess of your doubt. And what I want to tell you is being 100% honest. Answer, don't analyze this, okay? When I tell you this, but if nothing changed on the other side, okay, no apology, no balance, no structural respect, would you want to step back into that relationship, right? So again, if you lost a job, if you parted ways with a company or with a friendship or broke up, right, and you feel doubt, okay, don't analyze this too much, but think about it. If nothing changed on their side, no apology, no balance, no structural respect, respect is a key word here, would you really want to step back into that relationship? Huh? The answer is no. And your decision stands, right? Or if the answer is no, meaning that the other side did not offer an apology or balance or structural respect, why would you want to step back into that? So when you have that doubt, you have to think about that, right? Because you're questioning whether you really want to get back involved in that. And remember, it's unfamiliar territory. That's all that is. Okay. So Listen, it's okay to miss people. Sometimes things happen and you miss that person. Um, but missing somebody does not, underscore does not, need mean you need to go back. Okay, that's a total misperception. It's okay to miss somebody. So let's say it's a breakup. It's totally okay. You're going to have emotions behind it. You're going to have history behind it. You're going to have all this neurological stuff that's behind you. So missing somebody does not equate to you needing to go back. Okay. Um, Here's another thought too: is that what you're probably what you're probably grieving quietly in the back recess of your mind is that you're not doubting the decision, you're grieving the following things. You're grieving the version of that relationship you wished it could be. Understand? So, for example, let's say you're going through a divorce. I know it's not maybe a good example, but what you're really grieving is the version of the relationship you wished it could be. Because if we're honest, we look at a relationship as its entirety from up above, and looking down at this, look at all of the struggles and stress and problems that were part of this. We often romanticize it and fantasize it to think it was something that it wasn't. So what you're grieving is the version of that relationship you wished it could be. So if you're working at a company for a number of years, you might be grieving that part of the job that you did like, but it was a very small part, right? You may be grieving the early goodwill, the good intentions and goodwill of others that you might be grieving. You could be grieving the shared vision, so a lot of people that you worked with or in your relationship, you feel like at a time you had a shared vision. You may be grieving that because at a point when you were sharing that connection with whatever it is you made the decision to part from, you had a shared vision and you might be grieving that. And that's another reason. You might be grieving the hope that clarity would be met with reciprocity, right? So in other words, that they or it or whatever would meet you halfway and kind of work things out. You might be grieving that disappoints you. So remember this: grief often disguises itself as second guessing. So if you're second guessing yourself in this case, you might actually be grieving. And that's completely okay. And it's something you should go through, I should go through, we should all go through. The grieving process isn't always the death of somebody. It's also the, how do I say this? Kind of like the death of your ego, or a death of a boundary. It's it's second guessing is simply sometimes grief. Let me give you a couple of other fine points I think to consider here when it comes to making these types of decisions or having doubts or second guessing yourself. Is a reality check. Let's do a reality check. Let's anchor back to facts, not feelings. So in other words, separate out your feelings. So your feelings are over here on one side and your facts are over on another side. Let's separate them out because there's a big difference behind that. And if you can practice that, just try doing that for a day. Base things on facts. Anchor to facts, not your feelings. Okay? So think of it this way. Let's say you made a decision 3-4 days ago or whatever. Okay? So, for example, nothing in the days since that time, whatever it is you did, whatever decision was made, nothing in those days since changed much, has it? Nothing really has changed. Um, you know, it, the imbalances weren't addressed. Trust wasn't restored. Whatever it is, think about their side. So let's say, for example, you're breaking a contract with somebody. Let's say a company wants you to sign a contract, and you're not interested, and it's not right, and you want to part ways. In the days since, have the contracts changed? Have they come back to you and addressed the imbalance at all and said, let's talk about this? Has trust been restored, where you trust each other yet again? Have they acknowledged your needs? Maybe you have your own intellectual property to protect or your own demands to protect. Has any of that been acknowledged? Any more rebalanced power with you? Usually 99.9% of the time it has not changed. So when you're having doubt and you're looking back, think about all the things that haven't changed, right? And this is important to understand, is your internal state changed, not the situation. You're having the inner doubts. The situation itself hasn't changed. And that's a key distinction, right? So that's something to think about. So a couple more points. Um, this is what I call the gentle test, and sometimes this can be very helpful. So let's say it's a company that you dreaded leaving, or a relationship you dreaded leaving. Okay, imagine that you stayed. Imagine if you were there. Picture yourself 3 months from now, navigating the same situation, monitoring what you can say or do or whatever, right? All of the things. Try to imagine what that would be like. Um, try to literally sit there, close your eyes, relax, even lay down if you want to, and imagine that. And don't romanticize it, but see it how it really is. So whatever it is you've decided was there for a reason. It happened for a reason. Try to imagine that unfolding and getting worse, because you came to this decision because it was getting worse, and it would continue to get worse. So try to imagine that. Imagine yourself staying in that situation and it getting worse, because it's exactly what would have happened. Now you would say, now in this state of doubt, you'd say, well, what if it got better? It didn't get better, and things like that don't get better. So you have to give yourself a little credit and understand that it doesn't always get better, right? Now compare that to how you feel right now, even with a little bit of doubt. In other words, give it some thought, thinking about what will happen in 3 months if this continues, if you stick around, so to speak, versus right now. You obviously are going to feel better right now. So which version of you has more integrity and breathing room? Now, or thinking about 3 months from now with things getting worse? Obviously, it's now. So that helps give you a little bit of a pat on the back and feel a little bit better about yourself. I hope so anyway. A couple of other things. So the truth, it settles over time. People rarely regret leaving situations where boundaries were not respected, contribution outweighed recognition, when trust was eroded. Boy, so many things. Clarity had to be negotiated repeatedly. All kinds of things happen, and it gets exhausting, right? And you know, what happens is you regret staying too long. And in most cases, you've already stayed too long, right? So you have to keep that in mind, that the truth, the facts, the truth settles over time. So here's what I can tell you, what to do right now. So you're having these doubts, you're second guessing yourself, and what to do right now. Do not reopen contact. Just don't do it. Okay? You have to exercise discipline here, and trust me, don't reopen contact. Don't reread notes and texts and emails obsessively, and don't mentally renegotiate. That's just going to continue to make neurological connections in your brain and in your psyche, in your soul, and your feelings. So don't reopen your contact. Don't reread emails or texts or whatever obsessively. And I know that's hard for some people. And do not mentally renegotiate, okay, in your mind. These are the do's, do acknowledge the doubt without acting on it. So there it is. This is like what I talk about with Zen practices, being mindfully aware and being the observer, looking at the doubt. In fact, picture the words, the letters, DOUBT, doubt. Picture it. Great. Acknowledge it. It's doubt, but don't act on it. Just because you have doubt doesn't mean you have to act on it. It's completely normal to have doubt. So do acknowledge the doubt. Don't be afraid of it. Yes, there's doubt there. Okay? That's important. The other thing you want to do is remind yourself you acted from clarity, not impulse. Okay? This is different from somebody that might have, I don't know, punched somebody in the face, or did something violent, or whatever. That's a whole different subject. I'm talking about here making a sound decision. So you acted from clarity, not impulse. And then finally, I'd say, let the feeling pass. It will. All things pass, right? All of them. They all pass. So let the feeling pass. Remember, doubt peaks when the nervous system is learning a new pattern. And that's what you're doing right now. You're learning a new pattern. Repeat that. I am learning a new pattern. I am learning a new pattern. And that's when doubt peaks. The nervous system's freaking out right now because it's trying to learn a new pattern. It's kind of like a record album that's, if you remember what those things were, and it's sort of set in stone. And, the grooves are set. It's kind of like taking the Grand Canyon and you want to flow a river through it and make it go a different direction. It's going to be really hard to do. Take millions of years maybe, right? So the nervous system is learning a new pattern, and that's when doubt creeps in. Okay, and so I want to give you one last reassurance, and I want you to listen to this very carefully. Okay, you didn't do what you did because you were angry. You didn't leave or do anything at all to punish anyone, right? You didn't want to punish anyone. And you didn't do what you wanted to do impulsively. You didn't freak out and slam the door and run down the road, right? You left after careful reflection, or you did what you did after careful, intelligent reflection with kindness, clarity, and dignity. And that's something people regret long term. I'm sorry, that is not something people regret long term. Okay, so when you do what you do with kindness, clarity, and dignity, you will not regret that long term. It's impossible. Okay, so I want you to stand up and smile, or just sit where you're sitting, or lay down, or drive wherever you are, to just remember that you did this with kindness, clarity, and dignity. Okay, and you didn't do anything wrong. You're just adjusting to choosing yourself. So those are some thoughts that I hope will help you. And remember, this is post-boundary doubt. It's completely normal, and remember, it always shows up after you do something clean, calm, and self-respecting. So have faith, have confidence, and just trust that things will get better. And listen to this again if you have more doubts. But hopefully this will help you along the way with some of your doubts. Let it go, smile, and continue to make excellent, wonderful, and warm and loving decisions. Start exercising a new muscle and see how it changes your life. It's changed mine, and I guarantee it's going to change yours as well. I'm Todd, a lifetime artist and passionate creative professional with over 30 years of incredible experience. A wellness, martial arts, Zen, and spiritual teacher, imaginative entrepreneur, and honored husband, father, and grandfather. I'm driven to helping others achieve their personal, professional, and spiritual best. You can find me online at todd'szen.com or mitchellcreativegroup.com. Thank you.